Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Toss-Up. I'm Riley Woodall, and if you couldn't tell by my friend Pierre here, it is indeed the Halloween show, and boy, do we have a treat for you. Today, we're taking a trip down memory lane to discuss some of the greatest moments in sports. Grab your popcorn and maybe a couple tissues as we reminisce about some of the memories that made us fall in love with athletics. It's all next on the Toss-Up. There are great sports teams, there are great sports players, heck, there are great sports shows. Take this one, for example. And then there are great sports moments. Those times when our breath is taken away, when we question if what we just saw was real. A few seconds in time that could make or break a heart. Moments that we've shared down from generation to generation. We're asked, where were you when this happened? And we get transported back to that time and it feels like we're there again. And that is how great sports moments live on. Many things are forgotten, but those moments will never be lost because they live in us. Happy Halloween, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Riley Woodall, joined by Julian Zolenski, Olivia Pierce, and Elias, Khoury. You two making your toss-up debut. It's the Halloween show. Yes. We're talking some great sports moments. So we're going to kick this off with this question. I'll pose it to the floor. What was a moment or moments that made you fall in love with sports?
Well, Riley, I've always been a bit of a sports fan, but it wasn't until Game 6 of the 2013 Stanley Cups that really made me a sports fan. Oh my goodness, the Blackhawks and the Bruins in the Stanley Cup final, Game 6. I was in a restaurant in Dayton, Ohio, just chilling, having a good time. 500 people in this restaurant, right? We're thinking, who's going to win? Who's going to lose? What's going to happen? And then at the end of the third period, it was going to be Boston, but at the end of the third period, I got to witness the 2 goals in 17 seconds put up by the Chicago Blackhawks. They won the Stanley Cup that night, and my life has changed ever since.
I bet that bar isn't standing anymore.
It wasn't,
it wasn't
a bar. It wasn't a bar.
Okay,
just remember.
It was a restaurant.
It was a restaurant.
Either
yeah.
way.
It's never been the same.
You too?
For me, Riley, it has to be 2016 Chris Jenkins buzzer beater to beat North Carolina with Michael Jordan in attendance. For me, I'm not a fan of those two teams, but you could not have written a better storybook ending for that March Madness. Both #1 seeds that year, and Chris Jenkins hits it right as time expires in Jim Nantz on the call, one of my favorites, to get the job done. That's what made me fall in love with not only the storytelling of sports, but the commentary of sports. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, and Page's amazing shot before that just completely erased. That off-balance shot to take the lead, and then Jenkins has the shot to win that national championship. Elias, the moment that made you fall in love with sports.
Oh, goodness. Well, I mean, you're using the word love quite a bit, Riley, and I think you can't have love without a little bit of hate, right? And so the moment that made me fall in love with sports was figuring out exactly who I hated and why. So one word for you, Deflategate. I woke up... As a Colts fan, I woke up that morning, my mom drove me to middle school, and I was reading the article on her phone that the Patriots had cheated, and I realized, man, I hate this franchise. And so being able to build my love of sports off a foundation of hate has been really healthy. It's great.
Is it though?
Is it?
Has it been?
I'd say so. I'd say so because now, no matter how bad the Colts may be doing, and of course they're 500. I'm angry about it, but they're 500. They've benched their quarterback, and I can still be happy because the Patriots are worse than us.
I was going to say, for me, a couple quick ones. Mo Bamba, when it was Penn State, Michigan, that infamous college football clip, huge college football fan. And then on top of that, as a Packers fan, the moment when the Packers were playing the Cowboys a few years ago in the divisional, and Rodgers has that sideline throw to Jared Cook that sets up that game-winning field goal. I watched that live, and I almost jumped through the roof of my house. That's how high I got up. So we'll dive into some of the specifics now. Julian, you're up first. You've got football, basketball, and baseball, some of your greatest moment picks from those 3 sports.
Listen, this was so tough because I'm a big football, baseball, basketball guy, and there's so many great moments, but I had to narrow it down for the show, so I have a couple. For baseball, for me, Barry Bonds breaking Hank Aaron's all-time home run record in 2007, 756 home runs. I don't know if that will ever be topped. You can talk about some of the controversy later in his career when it was revealed that he was taking some performance-enhancing drugs. For me, I love Barry Bonds. You can't replace that moment at Oracle Park.
It still captivated the whole nation,
Absolutely,
though, that race.
right?
Absolutely.
For me, I had to go back a little bit. Babe Ruth calling a shot in 1932 against the Cubs. I like a moment that lives in infamy and mystery a little bit. That moment does, because we don't know if he was calling his shot or telling everyone that he had 2 strikes. So I love a little. I feel like a great moment has to have a little bit of
mystique.
Yes, absolutely,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Aura.
Yes.
Love
Aura.
that word.
For basketball, I think these are my easiest 2 picks. I had LeBron James, the block 3-1 against the Golden State Warriors. Yes, Mike Breen on the call for that one. One of my favorites. Listen, talk about just sheer will. He was all the way back in the corner. He runs down. I don't think Cleveland wins, obviously, if that block isn't made. It solidified LeBron's legacy and made him even bigger than we know today.
And that actually affected LeBron's legacy,
Yes,
by the way.
absolutely, right?
Shot there. Yeah, go ahead.
For me, secondly, MJ's flu game. 1997 against the Jazz, Stockton, Malone, but MJ comes in the clutch with that jumper. He had 38 in that game. For me, when you talk about Michael Jordan, I think of the flu game, and I think that's one of the greatest moments in basketball. Finally, for me, for football, I had to go with the helmet catch, David Tyree against the Patriots in 2008. Talk about one of the clutchest plays in championship football history. Again, Rodney Harrison bearing down on him. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. That's not easy.
It's not an easy task, right?
No.
So to hang on there with the ball and to set up the Giants for that game-winning score solidified Eli Manning's legacy, and it also lives in infamy for the Patriots as they can't get the undefeated season done. Finally, football for me. I go to the Patriots 28-3. How can you not mention that with greatest football moments?
Little backstory here. My younger brother was a Falcons fan at the time.
Oh my
He
goodness.
wasn't a Falcons fan anymore after that night.
Oh my goodness.
I'll tell you that. Those
Oh.
are absolutely amazing picks, though, Julian. Olivia, you're up next. You've got tennis, hockey, and soccer.
Well, if I would have to pick some iconic tennis moments, I would have to look at the female tennis players. Starting with Serena Williams in the 2017 Australian Open. She actually won that, however, she won it against her sister, Venus. And then on top of that, get this, she was playing while pregnant with her first child. That was just an absolute unbelievable moment. She really is that female in sports. She's the it girl, if we want to say.
Absolutely.
And then
She deserves that title.
She does. And then also another it girl is Steffi Graf. She is actually a Golden Slam winner. Now, to get a Golden Slam, you have to obviously get that grand, and then on top of that, get that Olympic medal. She did that in 1988. She's the only woman that has done it. She shares this with 4 other men, but she's the only woman that has done it. And I think that she is just an icon for the sports industry and for tennis, and for all females, honestly. Looking over towards hockey, I cannot talk about hockey without mentioning the great one, Wayne Gretzky. He played for many teams, including Indiana's very own Indy Fuel. And when he finally retired in 1999, he played, forget this, 20 seasons, bringing so many cups, so many points, so many records, so many goals to everyone. I cannot mention great moments without mentioning the great one. And then since we're doing a Halloween episode, I thought that I should talk about something a little spooky.
Okay.
In 2010, Patrick Kane did something that I can only call the ghost goal.
Oh, yeah.
Because he scored on Philadelphia Stanley Cup Finals. No one saw this coming. It took everyone a few seconds to even realize what was happening, and everyone acted like they saw a ghost because it was so crazy. And that really put Patrick Kane on the Blackhawks map and the NHL map for being Showtime. If I want to move to soccer, I obviously have to talk about Cristiano Ronaldo. And when in 2022, he actually broke the international goal record, and he's actually still the holder for that record. He's got 133 goals. He's on fire. He is really a great player in the world of soccer. And then to round us out, I have the comeback of a lifetime for Liverpool fans, a 3-0 down against Milan. They come back with a new spirit, a new integrity, and they say, hey, we're going to try and win this thing. They won, and they took home their 5th FA Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. You brought up a lot of polarizing figures in a good way, by the way. A lot of figures that have really taken their sports by storm. And when you listen, when you think about those sports, you think about those players
Absolutely.
first.
Yes.
Elias, speaking of players that you think of first, you've got the Olympics, my
That I
friend.
do.
You've got a loaded question here
That I
because
do.
there are a lot of moments you could talk about. But what are your greatest moment picks from the Olympics?
Well, I mean, the really cool thing about the Olympics, first and foremost, is they're the pinnacle of sport, right?
Yes.
Because they don't get to happen every year. You don't get to compete
Mm-hmm.
for a gold medal, for a championship ring every single year. No, that's every 4 years. And so you see a lot of different crops of athletes sort of popping up every 4 years. So something I want to highlight first and foremost is sustainability of success. Simone Biles. I'm in the
Yes.
camp that thinks Simone Biles probably the greatest athlete of all time for her particular sport. I mean, they've had to change the scoring to make it a little more fair for the
She
competition.
invented moves.
Yes. I mean,
The bile, hello?
Yeah.
yes, Simone Biles, probably the greatest Olympian of all time. You could throw Phelps in there. Absolutely amazing. Then I'll move to technically the greatest athlete of all time. If you guys are familiar with a man named Ashton Eaton, a couple Olympics ago, he actually broke the world record in the Olympics for the decathlon. And when you win the gold medal in the decathlon, you are declared the greatest athlete of all time. So by definition, Ashton Eaton is the greatest athlete of all time. You could argue some more nuanced athletes could be in that conversation, but by definition, it's Ashton Eaton. Next, wow, I'm gonna go not too long ago, just 2 Olympics ago, Mutaz Barshim and Gianmarco Tambieri,
Okay.
2 high jumpers at the absolute peak. They end up getting to the final round of their jumps, and they're tied. They're knotted, and Mutaz Barshim, who was the favorite going into it, looks at the official and he says, "Is it possible to have 2 gold medals?" And the official's a little bit, about it. He's like, "Yeah, well, it's not great for the TV." They decide to split the gold medal. Beautiful moment. Love that. Then I'm going to go to this most recent Olympics with the personalities that we saw from the United States athletes, specifically Alona Mar,
Yes.
Steven Nedorozic. That's Palma Horse Steve, for those who are unfamiliar. And just the messages that they stood for, I thought were really cool for the American audience. Steven being somebody who's a little bit quirkier, showing people that you can be whoever you want and still have success. Then obviously Alona saying her whole thing was that all Olympic bodies are different, all bodies are different, using her platform for body positivity. American icons.
So real quickly before we go to break, greatest moment in your opinion of the last 5 years? Elias, I'm going back to you. We'll go down the line real quick.
Well, like I said, I like having a team to hate, and
Are you okay?
I'm fine because of this moment.
I don't know how I feel about you being founded on hate. That's not good.
This is therapy.
A love that's built on hate, I think, is perfectly healthy. And I'm going to go, I mean, we talked about commentator moments. How about FDU Believe It? How about
Okay,
Fairleigh
yes,
Dickinson,
yes.
led by Dimitri Roberts, who's spent a long time in college. FDU didn't even qualify for the NCAA tournament. They had to go to a play-in off of a technicality because the top team in their conference was actually disqualified because of their jump to Division I. FDU takes down #1 overall seed Purdue Boilermakers. Greatest day of my life.
Olivia.
Oh my goodness, if I have to think, I'm going back to 2019. I know that's a little far, but Tiger Woods winning the Masters after a very long time. What really happened was a lot of attention in the media revolving him for maybe not the best reasons, but what he did was show up and prove that I am Tiger Woods. I am the best golfer. Give me that jacket. No, maybe not like that, but maybe I feel.
Return to glory.
Yes, I return to glory, and I do not care what the media says because I'm here to play golf.
Julian Jim Nance again, but you've got greatest
Yes.
sports moment of the last 5 years in your opinion.
I have to stick with 2019, Kawhi Leonard, Game 7, Eastern Conference semifinals. The most difficult shot I think I've ever seen a basketball player make, and it happened to be in Game 7 against the Philadelphia 76ers. Perfect, absolutely perfect. You couldn't have drawn it up better.
I'll make mine real quick. College football guy here, 2023, last year, Michigan, Ohio State. Zach Sinner gets injured in the big house. He's their best lineman. During the break, the crowd starts chanting, "Let's go, Zach. Let's go, Zach." And the very next play, Blake Corum scores a touchdown and flashes the 6'5" to the Fox Sports camera. That is just absolutely incredible. That's what sports are all about. But stick around. We've got a lot more coming up after the break. We're going to ask the panelists, where were they when certain sports moments happened? Classic sports moments happened. We'll be right back.
The Toss-Up, Fridays on IUSTV.
Welcome back to the Toss-Up. It's time for a new game called Where Were You When? Very simple. I will ask each panelist where they were when a great sports moment took place, and they will reminisce about it and speak on what that moment meant to them. These will be moments that haven't been mentioned earlier in the show because there are too many moments to count, and each one deserves its flowers. These will also be moments from the last 10 years or so because that's when we were all actually alive and could actually process what was happening. Julian, you're up first. 2021, Elio Castroneves gets his 4th Indy 500 championship.
Well, I actually saw this more recently because I'm not necessarily an Indy NASCAR guy, but Elio Castroneves, what it meant, his 4th championship, that's never, ever been done. Very, very, very impressive.
Yeah, never been done, at least in a really, really long time. Very few people in that category of 4-timers at the Indy 500. Olivia, you're up next. 2014, probably one of the moments that either established the internet or broke the internet or both. 2014 at Giants-Cowboys, Odell Beckham Jr.'s one-handed snag, while he was interfered with, still scored the touchdown.
Yeah, so I actually saw this clip a little bit a few years later down the line, but my heart honestly stopped because I just thought, like, gravity and, like, physics and, like, I like math, but how is that possible? And that really just means something to me and all sports fans because that is setting the bar for the level of commitment that Odell and any football player should be putting into their future passes, catches, kicks, everything like that.
Yeah, absolutely astounding moment. And that took over high school recesses.
Yes.
For sure, everybody was trying to do
Kids were trying. Kids were trying.
We're going to stick with the NFL, Elias. February 2015, the Super Bowl. Looks like the Seahawks are going to win. They have beast mode in the backfield, decide to pass it, and it's intercepted by Malcolm Butler. Patriots win the Super Bowl.
Well, as just a wee lad, I recognized from a very early age that that was probably the most boneheaded play calling I've seen in my life.
You'd be correct.
I was watching that game with my family. I actually went out and bought a Richard Sherman jersey that evening because I was so adamant that Tom Brady was not allowed to win that Super Bowl. And alas, Tom Brady got handed another Super Bowl by his defense, but that was the story for his whole career.
Julian, coming back to you, we'll switch to baseball. October 2015, ALDS Game 5. Jose Bautista with probably the coldest home run in MLB history. Blue Jays go on to come back and win the series. What a moment.
Well, let me tell you, this was back when I actually, before I was retired from sports. This is 8th grade football. This is 8th grade football. We're at fall practice on a Wednesday, and one of my friends is a Blue Jays fan. We're walking off the field, and he starts going berserk, and I'm wondering what's going on. We all come by his phone, and we're like, oh my gosh, that is the coolest thing we've ever seen in baseball. Absolutely electric.
Yeah, the crowd was just insane. Yeah. Olivia, we're going to basketball, particularly NCAA basketball. 2018 March Madness tournament. The dream, Loyola Chicago's Cinderella run.
Oh my gosh, well really this just means that nobody should ever doubt Chicago sports ability, period.com. Some teams, I know, shameless plug, shout out, but some teams may be in a rebuild, some teams may be doubted, but what you really need to do is not doubt Chicago. When there is room to show what they're made of, they will step up to the plate and show it, and now everyone has eyes on Loyola, of course.
College football, Elias, 2015 Sugar Bowl. Ohio State versus Bama, Ezekiel Elliott's touchdown run. And it finally shifted the narrative that maybe the SEC isn't always going to dominate in college football.
Real quick, OH?
IO.
Thank you.
I got you.
Yeah, go Buckeyes, man. Go Buckeyes. I've fully hopped on the bandwagon. My sister's fiance is in law school at Ohio State, so
Nice.
I get to support 2 winning football teams this season. And yeah, what a big moment. Ezekiel Elliott really legitimizing the Big Ten and saying, hey, we can still hang with the SEC schools when they sort of thought they had a monopoly on college football.
Last moment for all of you guys, real quickly, we'll talk about it. 2023, last year, Caitlin Clark becomes the NCAA basketball all-time leading scorer.
For me, I was actually here. A little bit of foreshadowing for my media orientation. I was taking a tour, ended up at IU, but absolutely amazing for Caitlin Clark. She's one of the best ever. Is the best, one of the best.
Yeah,
ever,
one
right?
of the best ever.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'll second Julian. I believe I was actually here as well. But again, what that means for the state of Indiana, like the revenue jumps, the ticket sales jump, the concession stands jump. There are more eyes on the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark than ever before. That is because of her. She has increased the popularity of this league, and it is because of her. That means so much for women. That means so much for female athletes and basketball players alike.
Elias, take us home.
Well, I was actually watching the game with quite a few of my friends from the great state of Iowa, where they famously have more pigs than people, and that's a fact. And so getting to experience.
I've counted. You're correct.
It's true. On my and so getting to sort of see how much that moment meant to people from Iowa, but also just to the sports world. Pete Maravich's record, many thought it would never be broken. Some people are going to say what they will about Caitlin Clark using the three-point line, about staying all 4 years, about, this and that, and Pete's field goal percentage versus hers and their different roles. But what a beautiful moment where college sports fans can just for a second come together and see this is our peak, right? This is what the culmination of so many years of finally investing into women's basketball has created.
And that's what moments are all about, bringing a bunch of different people together for a common cause. Elias, Olivia, Julian, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. This was a blast, the Halloween show. Greatest sports moments. You guys were terrific. And that's going to do it for the show this week. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to continue the discussion and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV Sports. And give our Toss-Up socials a follow on those same platforms as well. And lastly, always remember, we are living in historic times. Don't let the moments in both sports and life pass you by. With that, there's one thing left to do, so toss it up, find out if we'll catch it, and as always, we'll see you next week. God bless.